She did marketing and promotion, and after 8 years she left and joined a large management company, and then broke it off and started her own management company. So yeah, we're really excited to have her. If we can welcome her to class.
Hey guys, like Mackenzie mentioned, my name is Guillén, and I own a talent management and content development company called Public Matter, and I live here in the Bay Area. I often say to people that I feel like you can get to know a lot about somebody by what's on their playlist. So before we get started, I wanted to get to know a little bit about you guys. I wanted to go around the room, and if you can just tell me your name and one song, a song that you either is your current jam, a song that you put on to get pumped up, a song that you just loved for your entire life. If you guys are cool with that, I think we should do that, and I'll start. My name is Anna, and a song that I would be embarrassed if you guys knew how many times I've listened to it recently is a track on Ed Sheeran's new record called Happier. And because Brent is the reason I'm here, we'll start with him and then work our way around the room.
I'm Brent Free, and I guess I'm listening to the Tygo song with Selena Gomez. I just heard that today, and I like it.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay, hi, I'm Augustine. I'm listening to the new Calvin Harris song, which I know I'm going to get sick of soon, but Slide. I like that song a lot.
I'm Mackenzie. I really like reggae music. I've been listening to a lot of J-Bug, specifically Brighter Days recently.
Cool.
Okay. Hi guys, my name is Max Melanin, and I like probably Weekend by Miller featuring Miguel.
Hi, my name is Caesar, and I've been listening to DNA by Kendrick Lamar.
Hi, my name is Anastasia, and I've been listening to Mariana Hill.
Hi, my name is Suren, and I've been listening to Bounce Back by Big Sean.
My name is Max, and I like Forever Young by Aha.
Nice, throwback.
Hi, my name's Andy, and I've been listening to Enlighten Me by Group Love.
My name's Mia, and I've been listening to Teenage Fever by Drake.
My name's Alex, and I've been listening a lot to Kendrick's new song Element.
What about this side?
My name's Josh, and I've been listening to Mockingbird by Eminem.
My name's Matt, and I can always listen to Riders on the Storm.
I'm Christine, and coincidentally I've been listening to Redbone a lot.
Oh, nice. We'll go this over here.
My name's Matt, and I've been listening to Dance a lot lately. How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore.
My name's Jay. I've been listening to ADHD by Kendrick Lamar. My name's Brian. I'm listening to Oh What a Night by Frankie Valli.
Nice.
My name is Deeksha, and I've been listening to Perfect by Ed Sheeran.
Oh, nice. Such a good record.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I've been listening to Paris by the Chainsmokers.
I'm Maddie. Recently I've been listening to Heat Stroke by Calvin Harris.
I'm Jonas, and I've been recently listening to Bunny Bear's relatively new album a lot.
I'm Sam. I've been listening recently to Enter the Ninja by D'Amber.
I know you just got here, but we're saying our names and a song that we are currently into or have loved for a long time.
Okay, I'm Vittorio, and I would say I listen to Wonderwall a lot.
To what?
Wonderwall.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Hi, I'm Vera. I've been listening to St. Vincent a lot, Digital Witness.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Diane. I've been listening to Ed Sheeran's House on the Hill.
Nice.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I've been listening to DNA by Kendrick.
Hi, I'm Gabby. I've been listening to the song Conspiracy.
Oh, have you heard the Justin Bieber remix? Yeah, it's good.
Hi, I'm Casey. I've been listening to Duckworth by Kendrick Lamar.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Martin, and I've been listening to Shape of You.
What was that?
Shape of You?
Oh, nice.
Hi, I'm Lilies. I've been listening to Good Breed by Buzzkill.
I'm Elena, and I'm listening a lot to Ed Sheeran in Barcelona.
Hello, I'm Cameron. I've been listening to Humble by Kendrick Lamar.
I'm Daniela, and I've been listening to Wildest Dreams by Taylor Swift.
Hi, I'm Dario. I've been listening to Kanye Stark, One Word.
Cool. Thank you guys for sharing. I think there's some songs that I definitely need to check out that I didn't know, and some songs that I already love. like I mentioned, my name's Anna, and I am obsessed with entertainment. I love entertainment. I love the way that we transform through it, the way that we connect through it, and ultimately the way that it impacts our culture. This fascination for me started at a really young age. When I was 12 or 13 years old, I got my first job at a record store in Petaluma, just not too far from here. I was there, and I worked there from 13 all the way through high school. And when I was working there, we sold CDs, back when people still bought CDs. During this time, when the CDs would come in, I would look at the back, and I would figure out which record label was sending us which artist. And I became obsessed with record labels. So it was during this time that I decided after high school I was going to move to New York, because in New York I could get closer to the record labels. So I found a school that I could afford. I applied, I got in, and I moved to New York City. I thought that education was important, but my goal of being in New York City was to do internships so I could meet people at record labels. So during school, I did an internship at Interscope Records in the publicity department and Columbia Records in the A&R department. These internships were invaluable for me. And I mention this to you guys because I encourage you, if you can do an internship while you're in school, definitely take the time and do it. Not only do you get the brand name on your resume, but you also make relationships. And these can help you afterwards if you're looking for a job or you're looking for funding. And in addition to that, they also let you know, do you even really like the field that you're going into? When I graduated from college, I got a job at Warner Brothers Records, and they moved me to Charlotte, North Carolina, to be their marketing and promotion manager. This was a dream come true. I was getting paid to go to concerts and to work with big level artists. I had a corporate card. The 13-year-old girl that was working at the music store could not believe this was happening. After 3.5 years there, I got promoted, and they moved me to a bigger market, which just so happened to be San Francisco, which is home for me. After 4 years of working for Warner Brothers here, I felt like I was starting to outgrow the position. I felt like I wasn't learning anymore. So I started having conversations with my bosses about moving up. I wanted to do more. And they were open to this, however, they wanted me to move to Los Angeles. And at this point, I had built a foundation here, my people were here, so I didn't want to move to LA. I was able to find a company based in LA that would still let me live here. So I joined this company, and the company was called The Collective. And they were a big artist management company, but also a multi-channel network. And what a multi-channel network is they develop and monetize content on YouTube. At the time, they were starting to build this new part of their company where they were building a centralized place for management, content development, and distribution, which would be your record label. So they brought me there to help them pioneer this new model. It was an incredible experience for me. I received an education that I didn't know I was going to receive. And while I was there, I morphed into an artist manager. I signed my first client. After 2 years at this company, there was starting to be some changes happening at the company, and it felt like it was time for me to move on. So I started having conversations with different management companies, but again, everybody wanted me to move to LA, and I was really dug in on this. I wasn't going. So it became very apparent that if I wanted to keep growing in entertainment, I was going to have to do it on my own. So I took my one client. I had $29.51 in my bank account. I'll never forget that number. And I started my own company. And I was absolutely terrified. My client that I founded the company on was a young pop duo from here in the Bay Area, actually. And their names are Kaylin and Miles. At the time when I started the company, I had been developing them for about a year at the other management company. So they had about 6 songs out. They had a little bit of a following. They were worth about 400 tickets in the Bay Area, which being worth 400 tickets means if we put up a concert, we would expect to sell about 400 tickets. So there was something going on, but it wasn't where it needed to be, but it was enough for me to have the belief to start this company on them, and I also had belief in myself. At the time, the guys were working on an EP. They had, an EP is a collection of 5 or 6 songs that you release as a cohesive project. So it's not quite an album, but it's also not just one song. They'd been working on this EP and it was just about done, but we were missing a song or two. So this was November 2013. The guys get together at Miles's dad's house just in San Leandro, which is somewhere near where we are now. And Miles had built a makeshift studio in his bedroom, which consisted of a desk, a microphone that he had bought at Guitar Center, and a program called Fruity Loops. And Fruity Loops is a program that you use to make beats. So one day in November, they get together to work on music, and Miles had made a beat that they were into, and they decided they want to write to it. And that beat sounded like this. So they put the beat on loop and start writing to it. And at the time, Miles had suffered from a little bit of heartbreak. He'd been played by a girl, and that was weighing on him, so he decided he was going to let it out. So he hops into the booth, which is a microphone in the corner of his bedroom, and starts writing, and starts recording his verse. And the words sounded like this.
Okay, the sun was setting, it was picture perfect when I met her. She had me thinking her and I was gonna be together forever. Wait, hold up, you thought this on the first day? Man, I know, it's like she got me hooked right away. I couldn't see it coming like a sucker punch. Took my heart, then she's out, that's a hit and run.
So he kept writing and recording, and he finished his verses, and then Kaylin hops in the booth and records the hook. They finished the song that afternoon. It took about 4 hours, which is incredibly fast to finish a song. Most songs have 10 people involved. They bounce all around the globe before it ever gets to be something that we hear on Spotify or wherever you listen to music. The guys sent the song to me that afternoon, and the track that I heard for the first time completed was this.
I said I got my heart stolen from a robber with some high heels on. Yeah. There's nothing I could do, I couldn't stop her from leading me on. Yeah, it's a love robbery. Yeah, it's a love robbery. Let's go. It's a love robbery. Yeah. Okay, the sun was setting, it was picture perfect when I met her. She had me thinking her and I was gonna be together forever. Wait, hold up, you thought this on the first day? Man, I know, it's like she got me hooked right away. I couldn't see it coming like a sucker punch. Took my heart, then she's out, that's a hit and run.
The song is called Love Robbery, and I remember, this is one of the few songs that I remember exactly where I was and exactly what I was doing the first time I heard it. It wasn't because the production was super next level or the writing was incredibly profound, but it was raw and it came from a really real place, and we were all really excited about this song. So we put the song on the EP, and we released the EP independently in December. Once the EP is out, as we all kind of expected, Love Robbery starts raising its hands. This song starts spreading online, and it starts connecting with social influencers. And there were 6 seconds of the song in particular that started connecting with these influencers. These people started taking 6 seconds of the song and posting videos to Vine. Because they had such big audiences, their followers on Vine started doing the same thing. So there were millions and millions of loops being generated on Vine using this song. Rest in peace, Vine, because it's not existing anymore. And here's what some of those Vines look like.
Last seen in a little black dress, watch out for those eyes, cause she's armed and dangerous like bow. Hit you with that one little black dress, watch out for those eyes, cause she's armed and dangerous like bow. Hit you with that one shot.
This went on and on and on. These Vines started driving sales and streams of the song off the platform. And the data that was being generated got the attention of major record labels. All the major record labels started calling. Columbia, Universal, Warner Brothers. We ended up doing a deal with Republic Records, which is under the Universal umbrella. This was a huge deal for us. We're talking about two young men, barely 20 years old, making music in their bedroom, now in business with, at the time and still is, the #1 record label in the country. It was incredibly validating. And not only was it validating, but it also gave us more resources. It helped us to pour some fuel on the fire. We started working the song to radio, and it went onto the charts, and it actually became the #1 played song of the year at Power 106 in Los Angeles, which is one of the most influential rhythmic radio stations in the country. The song was also used in a campaign for the Beats pill, and I'll share a little bit of that spot with you guys.
I said I got my heart stolen from a robber. With some high heels on. Nothing I could do, I couldn't stop her from leading me on. Yeah, it's a love robbery.
The song continued to grow and penetrate pop culture. We even had a TMZ moment when Justin Bieber was driving down the street of Los Angeles rocking out to the song. Shortly after this, he ran up onto the sidewalk and nearly hit a woman, which is why we got the TMZ look, but she was fine, so we welcomed the attention. Love Robbery went on to sell hundreds of thousands of tracks and be streamed over 50 million times. But fortunately, it wasn't the biggest song of their career. But this song was the song that changed everything for them. It allowed us to build a hyper-engaged, devoted fan base all over the world. It allowed us to go from selling 400 tickets in San Francisco to 4,000 tickets in San Francisco. It let us do multiple sold-out tours around the United States and play shows in Europe to primarily female audience that look like this.
It's like I'm at the police department, broken hearted, trying to figure out how it all started. 5'2" with some attitude. It's all good, cause honestly, I think it's kinda cute.
This song was a catalyst. It was a catalyst for us to build a really robust business for these two guys. And it was also a catalyst for me to begin scaling my company. By show of hands, do any of you guys know what an artist manager does or what content development is? Cool. So I'm going to tell you guys about this. An artist manager essentially runs the business of the artist. So technically, my business is comprised of multiple client businesses. There's 5 main components to an artist's business, or 5 key revenue streams. The first one being content. Content is the music. So what I do as a manager is I help them create the music, not by the writing, but by setting them up with the right songwriters or the right producers. And once the writing and the recording is done, the song then goes into a mixing process and a mastering process. So I handle all of the logistics to make sure that everything happens and it happens on time. Once the music is done, there's then the visual components. So we make music videos, graphics, album artwork, promo photos, marketing tools to help promote the music on social media and other places. And I also will work with directors, photographers, graphic designers to get all of that stuff done and make sure that the artist's vision is executed properly. We then monetize all those content, all those pieces of content. The next component is live experience, which is essentially touring. I will work with a booking agent and book tours for the artist. In addition to tours, there's also one-offs, which might be, playing at Coachella or playing at Outside Lands, and then also appearances. When I work with the booking agent, the goal is to put the artist in the right place at the right time in the right size venue. And there's a lot of details that go into booking a tour. I'll be hiring a tour manager hiring a production manager, a lighting person, a sound person, renting a tour bus, making sure the driver is a good driver and can drive my clients around the country, deciding what the show is going to look like. So when you go to a concert and you see the stage, what's happening on there? What lights are there? Do you have CO2? Is there confetti? Is there pyro? So there's a lot of details that go into live experience, but it's also one of the biggest revenue streams for artists, so it's really important. The third component is merchandise. And merchandise is a tangible extension of the artist brand. It's a physical good that connects the artist to the fan. Merchandise happens to be one of my favorite parts of the artist business. I didn't know anything about it when I started with Kaylin and Miles, but I took the time and really studied it and figured out how can we make this work? How can we get the goods for cheaper, increase our profit margins, but also not charge the fans too much? And in 2 years, we were able to build a multi-million-dollar merchandise business for them. I love what's happening with merchandise right now. I think for a really long time, artists were treating it as a passive revenue stream, but recently you've seen them kind of getting more involved in it. And one of my best examples, again, is Justin Bieber. I love what he did with his merchandise on the Purpose Tour, how he really turned it into a clothing line for himself and did pop-up shops and then licensed it to stores like Urban Outfitters. I thought that was amazing. So if you do merchandise right, it can turn into a really profitable thing for the client. Brand partnerships. Brands love to work with artists because it's a non-traditional way to market their goods. I've done brand partnerships with Sony Films, Oral-B, Skype, Macy's. It can be really good because it's a way to make some non-traditional revenue, but also promote yourself without promoting it like you typically would. Like not always just posting on social media about yourself. The brand can promote you for you. The one thing when it comes to brand partnerships that you have to be cautious of is you need to make sure you're keeping the artist's authenticity in place while also managing the brand, the consistency of the brand story. But it's very manageable and it can be a very lucrative thing for artists. The last component is probably the most complicated, and it's publishing. I think the easiest way to explain publishing is when you listen to a song on Spotify, or you listen to a song on YouTube, or you're listening to SiriusXM, there's a transaction that takes place. And the transaction can be split into two parts. There is the recorded piece of music, which you'll call the copyright, which typically the record label owns, and then there's the publishing. And the publishing is then split into two other parts. There's the words, the actual lyrics, and then there's the music, so the instruments that are being played or the beats that are being produced. And both of those are monetized. There's collection societies all over the world that collect basically this stream of pennies for you every time one of those transactions takes place. Artists that write their own music and produce their own music, publishing can become an amazing revenue stream. For example, an artist like Taylor Swift or Ed Sheeran, who are massive superstars but also write their own music, it's mind-blowing how much revenue comes in from that. I've been fortunate that I've worked with only clients that write their own music, so that's been a really good thing for me. The way a manager earns revenue is by taking a percentage of all of these different revenue streams. My first year in business, I stayed focused on one client because I wanted to learn everything about how an artist makes money, where all the pennies come from, and how I bring them to my client. It worked really well in my first year. I was more profitable in year one than I'd ever been at a major company, so that felt really good. In year two, now that I had some money in my bank account, I decided it was time to start scaling. And scaling for me means signing new clients and hiring employees. So that's what I did. I signed 2 new clients in year number 2 and hired my first employee. In year number 3, I hit a roadblock. I was feeling really good about myself in the beginning of year 3 because I had doubled profit in year 2. Things are going well. And then my main client, who you guys saw, decided that they didn't want to work together anymore. they decided that they wanted to break up. And although I had 2 other clients, they weren't developed enough to withhold the no longer having that income from my main client. So I was at a crossroads. What am I gonna do? I've worked so hard and now it's falling apart. So I thought about just calling it quits, but I decided I wasn't ready to do that yet. So I took some money, of my own money, and invested it into myself to keep things going, to try to turn the ship around. Year 3 was really hard. It was really challenging going from having a client that was well on their way to having now 3 developing clients, because I had the 2 and then I took one of the guys from that group and launched their solo career for them. At the end of year 3, which would have just been this past December, I parted ways with 2 clients because I wanted to give myself time to really evaluate where I was and what I was doing, and it didn't feel like they were happening on the timeline that I needed them to happen on. This was an amazing thing. It was really good for me to take this time and sort of evaluate what I learned throughout this process. So I want to share some of those lessons with you guys. The first one is stay present and reflect. This may sound basic, but I'm telling you, when you start a company and things start happening and things start moving really, really quickly, it's really easy to get lost in the excitement of it all. So I encourage you guys to take time to check in, to see where things are at, and to reflect on the experiences you have. And I didn't do that during the process. I did that 3 years in. So I encourage you guys to do that every 3 months and just check in with yourself and see where you're at and see why you're making the decisions you're making. And by reflecting, I really believe like those are, when you reflect and you see what's happening, that's what should guide you forward. So stay present and reflect. Trust your instincts. I mentioned earlier that I was terrified when I started the company, and that fear reared its head multiple times over the past few years. It appeared most when I was making big decisions, and I didn't realize this at the time, but I was often making decisions out of fear, not out of instinct. An example that I will share with you guys is one day I had this big music company call me, and they said, Anna, I have this client, I think you'd be great with him, do you want to take the meeting? I was so flattered, of course I'm going to take this meeting. So I meet with the client, and the meeting was good, however, at moments during the meeting, there were flags. I knew there were flags. And the next day they call me up again and they say, so what did you think? Do you want to work with them? And I panicked. I got afraid to tell them that I didn't know. I needed more time. I needed to take more meetings, but they had said if I don't want to do it, they're going to call someone else. So I said I would do it because I was fearful that if I didn't do it, they would never call me again and it might tarnish the relationship. Fast forward, 1.5 years goes by of working with this client, and every red flag that came up during that meeting ended up becoming an issue along the way. I ended up parting ways with them, and unfortunately, I lost money, and I also lost 1.5 years, and there was really not much in return, except for the lesson, of course. And so there's other examples of that, but I think that it's just something that you should be cognizant of when you go into uncharted territory like entrepreneurs do, is make sure that you're aware that sometimes fear is there and you might be making decisions for the wrong reason. So one of the things I do now is when I have to make a big decision, I ask myself, if I had 2 more days or 2 more weeks or 2 more months, would the decision be the same today as it was if I had more time? And if the answer is no, then the answer should be no in that moment. People, people, people. People that you surround yourself when you're building a business, whether it's partners or it is employees or it's clients. These people are going to determine your success or determine your demise. You can be the lone wolf in the beginning, but eventually as you grow, you are going to have to bring people into your business. You're going to have to trust people. And it is so important to make sure that you take the time and again, trust your instincts to make sure that you're bringing the right people into your business. Take your time to do it right. There were multiple times along the way when I was growing the company that we rushed things because we were worried that we were losing steam, we were worried that it'd been too long since we'd released something, and every time we rushed something, and I knew deep down inside that we weren't putting out the best product, the fans, the consumers, told us that immediately. So I encourage you to take the time to do it right. You need to be proud of the product, whatever the product is that you're putting into the marketplace. Because you, as the owner, the entrepreneur of the company, you're gonna have to sell it. So you need to make sure that even when it feels panicked and it feels like you need to go, 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 make sure that you feel proud of the product. I think if you're building an app and it's something that's living and breathing and you can make changes as you go, it's a little bit easier. But when you're talking about music and music videos, when you put those out, they're out. I think the only person that's been able to figure out how to change music after is Kanye West with his last record, but most people don't get to do that. So take your time to do it right. The last thing is managing your correspondence. I am a big believer in if somebody calls me or emails me or texts me, I reply to them. I feel like in this day and age, there's so many productivity tools that we should be able to do this. And I've always felt this way, but recently I had an experience that even made me feel more that managing your correspondence is really important. I got this email, and the way the email was drafted, it made me feel like it was something that I didn't need to pay attention to. A few days go by and the email is still like, I haven't responded and it's still in the back of my head. I'm thinking, I need to respond to this email. So I finally do. And it comes to be that the person that sent me the email was a guy that has a really successful VC fund in Silicon Valley. And he wants to invest in artists. Somebody had given him my information and he hit me up. And people like that aren't gonna just come out right away and be like, hey, I wanna give you money. Like, that's not what happened, because I probably would have responded right away. So we developed this relationship, we have a bunch of meetings, multiple negotiations, and long story short, I was able to secure a substantial amount of funding for one of my clients, and it happened at an incredibly good time for him. So I encourage you to manage your correspondence. You never know when that intern is going to become the CEO. So you just need to treat everybody with respect and respond to them. There are many paths to take as an entrepreneur. I went down a path that is creativity and business, and I manage artists. You might develop software or start a consumer packaged goods line and work in the food industry. I can promise you whatever path you take is going to be both harder and easier than you expect. I suggest that you take the time to stay present and reflect when you're going through the process. Trust your instincts, even when it is the harder route to take. Put good people around you, and when you find them, do everything you can to keep them close to you. Take your time to do it right and trust the process. And last, but certainly not least, manage your correspondence. Thank you guys for having me here today. I wish you guys the best of luck on your endeavors in entrepreneurship. And if you ever need anything, if I can be helpful to you in any way, please feel free to hit me up. Thank you.
Questions? I have one. Do you make most of the decisions for your clients, or do they, when you're talking about like where they want to play and everything?
It depends on the relationship. Each client has I have a distinctly different relationship with them. I feel like as a manager, you're definitely guiding them and advising them on the pivotal career decisions. So most of them will trust you and listen to what you say. Some of them push back, which is great. I appreciate that because it means they really care about their career. But there's not one way, but I would say for the most part, it's definitely because I have the experience that they'll listen to what I say and I kind of make the final decision.
I'm really curious, when you first started scaling your business in year 2 and adding your 2 new clients, when you were going through that process, how did you decide on those 2 clients? Because you have to start scaling at sort of a smaller level.
Yeah.
What distinguished them?
It's tricky. I was in a good position because I didn't have to necessarily search online. A lot of times you'll just find people on YouTube. The way I found Kaylin and Miles was online. I was in a position where one was brought to me by an attorney and one was brought to me by a booking agent. And I feel like, again, it's instinct. And being totally honest, and I think I actually already shared it, looking back, I wouldn't have signed, if I did it again, I wouldn't have signed one of the clients that I work with. And I think that you just have to sort of trust your gut, and do you feel really passionate about it, and you need to get to know them as people. Again, people that you bring into your business are really important. And when it comes to management, the client is everything. Your product is these people. So I think it's really about just how much do you believe in them? Are you excited when you listen to their music? Do you want to get out of bed every morning and bust your ass for them?
Excuse me, so as a boutique kind of entrepreneur like you are, so when you had Kaylin and Miles, when they got kind of bigger, do you think it was I don't know how to phrase this necessarily, but do you think they kind of outgrew the boutique experience? Or, because for example, let's say you had Drake in 2007, then he blows up and he reaches huge heights.
Yeah.
As one person, I don't think it's possible for you to handle that, right? So what happens when your clients get too big?
Yeah, I like that. I think that there's a couple things that happen. If they had gotten to a point where I felt like I couldn't manage it, there's 2 things I could have done. I could have hired more staff quickly, or I could have gone and joined a bigger management company. And I had people reach out to me, but it didn't feel like the right thing. I think, for example, I think Chance the Rapper is a really good example, because Chance and Drake actually started with the same people that they're still with now, and they're global superstars. So I think that what I would have done had they kept going and they had kept building is I would have just kept adding staff and tried to turn myself into the Rock Nation or EXO, which Drake has. Oh no, wait, sorry, Drake is OVO. The Weeknd is EXO. Lots of letters.
How did you prepare yourself besides internships? How did you prepare yourself to take on being how did you get good at that? Did you study it, or how
I didn't study it. I've always studied the music industry. Like I had mentioned, I love entertainment, I love music, and so I've always paid attention to it. Working at Warner Brothers, I worked with a lot of managers, so I think I got a good sense of what worked and what didn't work. But really the most important thing, I think, as far as the management goes, was when I was at the Collective, I wasn't a manager there right away. The way I became a manager was I ended up getting a really good relationship with one of the clients that I was working more with marketing. They didn't want to work with their manager anymore, and they ended up asking me if I would take them on. So I just dove in and I did it. I think I really believe in learning by doing and just jumping in and getting your hands dirty. And the beautiful thing about the day we're living in now is there's so much information online, even for artist management. You can Google and read interviews with some of the best artist managers, the most legendary artist managers, and there's things to be learned there.
Yeah, I have a question, not really entrepreneurship, but more just about this field and merchandise actually.
Yeah.
So, actually my little sister loves YouTubers and tells me all the next big YouTubers, and I don't know any of them. I've always wondered why is merchandise sold rather than just given out? Because it seems like free advertising for me.
Yeah.
A ton of people wearing your shirt is just name recognition. I get why Taylor Swift and Justin Bieber don't need that, but that next tier down.
Yeah,
I don't really understand that, so I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, it's true, because these people that buy your merchandise turn into walking billboards, which is great. I think that the reason why we can't give it away for free is because it costs. So we could make an investment, and we actually did in the beginning. There was a time, they may still be popular, but those silicone wristbands. So we used to give those away as exactly what you're talking about, to get your name onto these people. And they would be, you know, their arm filled with these. So there are things that you can do, and you just have to be willing to invest the money in it. But when you're talking about hoodies, we charge $50, $60 for those. They cost us $24 plus the cost to print them. So that's a tough thing to give away. But I do think it's really smart to do some level of that. It would just have to be a little bit smaller scale. Anyone else?
Yeah, who are some of the managers that you like what they're doing?
Some of the managers that I like what they're doing, I think, again, Drake's crew, the OVO guys, I really admire that they're the crew that they started with from the beginning when there was nothing going on. And also Chance the Rapper, he's with the same people, and the way that those two artists have grown their business and stayed really true to their brand, and really sort of, Chance more than anyone, really sort of done it his way and pioneered this whole new business model for independent artists. Those are people that I think have done a really good job. And I also think too, Scooter Braun, he's gonna be the Irving Azoff of our generation. And how he took, you know, Justin at such a young age and has gone through such a process with him, it's amazing. And the fact that he's found his niche in pop music and really taken that and scaled it to a whole nother level, those three people in particular I think are most admirable to me right now.
Any other questions? All right, thank you so much. All right, last class next week. And if you don't have any questions, then I will see you next week.